being an entrepreneur is freaking hard. It's a roller coaster. Some days everybody wants to buy what we're selling. Other days people cannot remember our name. And the biggest thing I want them to understand is that they are not alone feeling that way. It's really hard sometimes when all we see is the highlight reel and the success stories. And then we're over there wondering what's wrong with us and why isn't our business growing faster? And if you think you're alone feeling that way, you're absolutely not. And that is where it is so critical to get into a community of like-minded people who are being honest, going through the same thing you are, so that you can shore each other up. Because a lot of times our friends and family don't understand. Just know that you're not alone, get into a community of support, and just keep going. Just don't quit.
We've done all the hats in our business, growing them. Sure, we could go back and get that job, but what does it involve? And
just the thought of it makes me kind of get like anxious, and it's like, no.
So 61% of other listeners, maybe you're included, are making under 50 grand a year. And I know this because when I asked what podcast topics would help your online course business grow the most, some of the responses were what to focus on now as a solopreneur and stop doing all the things. And so if that is you, today's episode is going to help you out a lot. We are featuring a visibility and list growth strategist, Tracy Beavers, and you'll learn how to gain visibility online with ease and easy ways to grow your email list on Facebook. And if you haven't told me yet what kind of episode topics would help your online course business grow, then please take 90 seconds to fill out the short survey. It's linked in the description below if you're watching or listening on YouTube, because this podcast is for you, and we want to produce, my wife and I, Jamie here, want to produce the content that you need. So now, about Tracy. It's her belief that everyone should have the opportunity to use their gifts and talents to build the business of their dreams. And
actually,
Jamie,
that's our belief too.
That's our belief too. We couldn't agree more. We're with you, Tracy. We're with you, Tracy. But yeah, we do sincerely believe that God gave you gifts and talents and passions, and that as an online course creator or coach, you get the opportunity to help people have a transformation in their life. In fact, the people that were meant to learn from you, whose lives are meant to change from us, are waiting for us to show up and continue to grow our businesses. Right, Tracy?
They are, absolutely. And you know what? It expands beyond the online space. I think whatever gift and talent you have been given, whether you have a gift for sign language interpretation, or as teaching Spanish, or being a physician, or being a dentist, or counseling children, or building an online business, it doesn't matter what it is. I think it is our duty as people who are humans on this earth, that we're given gifts and talents by God. That's my belief, that we use those in the furtherance of other people, because that's why he gave them to us in the first place. He didn't give them to us just to hide them and not do anything with them, So, and even if you can't use your gifts and talents in a full-time capacity yet, you could still do it as a side hustle, or, something that just brings you joy. But as long as you are using your gifts and talents, I think that's the key. That's when you're in alignment with what you are put here for.
Man, this is already amen. This is already a great Instagram reel soundbite right here. Let me read the rest of your bio, because it's impressive, Tracy.
The bio. Okay. Let's go.
So, as a CEO and founder of Tracy Beavers Coaching, Tracy has a proven track record of business growth. With an award-winning career spanning 20 years, Tracy has guided hundreds of entrepreneurs to grow their business visibility through organic marketing strategies. She is a public speaker and a published author. Dang. And she has been featured by CBS Television, The Wall Street Journal, Vanity Fair Lingerie, and Kajabi. Shout out to Kajabi. We use Kajabi.
Yeah.
She's the creator of the top-ranked business podcast, Create Online Business Success. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can see Tracy next to us. Welcome to the Art of Online Business podcast.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I feel like we're friends already, even though we just met.
We do have a vibe.
Yeah,
I can confirm that after talking a bit before we hit record.
Yeah, I feel like if we lived closer together, we'd go have coffee.
Yes.
right?
Agreed. Speaking of which, where are you
I
based
was just going to
exactly?
ask you. I was like, wait, where do you live, Tracy?
I'm in the US. I'm in Arkansas, hence the Southern accent. I don't think I have one, but other people are like, "Oh, I hear a hint of Southern," and I'm like, "Oh, really?" They're like, "Yeah, a hint."
So are
Yeah.
you like a transplant or born and raised in Arkansas?
So I was born in St. Louis, Missouri, but we moved when I was 2, we moved down to Fort Smith, Arkansas, and that's where I was raised. And then, and then when I went to college, I went to Tulsa University, Tulsa, Oklahoma, about 2 hours away, didn't stray very far, and then never thought I'd go back to Fort Smith, but I did. And long story short, I now live in Little Rock. I moved here in 2010 for my now second husband, John, and I to be married, and the kid and we raised my children together. It's been great. Little Rock is an amazing city if you've never been here.
We
Cool. I
have
have
never
never
been.
been there.
It's gorgeous and the people are really nice and the food, there's so much good food. Like all kinds. It's not just barbecue and cheese dip. There is so much good food.
Okay.
Good to
Barbecue
know.
and cheese dip.
Good to know.
Right?
Yeah, we're not just barbecue and cheese dip.
We have other things.
Right.
All right. So the listener is like, maybe this is me. I'm growing, but I haven't hit 50K months. I was going to say months, 50K years yet. And I want to know what to do right now. And we're definitely going to get into the importance of having an email list and email list building strategy. I especially love how you talk about how to build a list of buyers. But before we get there, on your Facebook page, you have this quote front and center that says, "Learn how to grow your email list, attract your ideal clients, and get consistent income without paid ads." Can you break that down a bit? Like tell us the listener a bit more.
Yeah, for sure. So I am an organic strategist, as you said. All the visibility and list growth strategies that I teach have your leads coming in on autopilot organically. Now, this kind of happened, I feel like some of the things we go through as business owners literally set us up for our successes. And it might at the time feel like a failure. So when I first started, I was building this business alongside my full-time corporate sales job because I couldn't just quit. My husband would have thought I'd lost my mind. And at the time, the kids were high school and middle school. So we were busy, right? And so I had to figure out how to maximize my time in the online space. Well, I made the mistake that a lot of people do. I thought paid ads would be the silver magic bullet. And so I hired someone who was supposedly an expert. Of course, I didn't know what I was doing. And come to find out, I had no business running paid ads because I didn't have proof of concept yet. I didn't have a viable offer. And so I wasted thousands of dollars. And that was like, oh, that hurt, right? And so that made me pause on, okay, paid ads don't look like the thing for me. What can I do? And so that's when I developed all of my organic strategies because coming into the online space, I knew the importance of having an email list. A lot of the big people that I was listening to, their podcasts and stuff, they were talking about list growth, list growth. You got to have an audience. And that made sense to me because I also didn't do that part before I went to launch a course. And I was like, okay, why isn't anybody buying this? And I was like, okay, well, because you don't have an audience of buyers yet, Tracy Beavers. What is, duh. Um, and so I had to say, okay, I got to grow the email list. And so all the list building courses out there that I found, they taught you how to identify your ideal client, which is super important because you got to know who you're talking to. And then they taught you how to create a free lead magnet and put it out on social media. And I was like, okay, cool, done. And I had like 3 lead magnets. They were doing well and my list was growing, but I wanted out of that corporate job so bad. And I thought there has got to be other ways to grow this list. And so the last over 20 years I spent in sales, business development, marketing, and
Insurance, right?
insurance
Corporate?
was initially, yes, my first career out of college. And then about in 2005, I switched into really the focusing of sales and marketing and business development. But I had to get scrappy and creative to have the award-winning sales career that I had. I had to figure out ways to set myself apart. I had to figure out ways to do, like you hear what people say, I zig when other people zag or whatever it is. So I just had to think outside the box. And so I thought, okay, you're a smart girl. You can figure this out. And Facebook was my platform. And I thought, I'm going to look at every nook and cranny of this platform, and I'm going to turn every nook and cranny into a list growth funnel. And so, in all, I developed over 10 strategies. I think 5 or 6 of them have to do with Facebook. But then we move into the power of live video, no matter what platform you're on. Then we move into the power of networking, collaborating, like we're doing right now, because that network can explode your list growth like crazy. And then we look at things like turning your existing clients into your best source of referral, because that's a great list growth strategy. And so I started developing these strategies. And when I layered them in the right order, that's when the list growth and the leads started to happen automatically every day in the background of my business, where I don't have to think about list growth. People ask me all the time, they're like, well, Tracy, you must set aside 15 hours a week to work on your list. And I'm like, I really don't. I focus on the strategies that I have, and they grow my list, but based on the activity that I'm doing. So that's how that sob story came about. Then I tried to run paid ads again a couple years ago because I'm a slow learner. And I thought I found another expert, and she's probably great. I don't know. I still didn't know what I was doing, but she taught me more than anybody else. Again, wasted thousands of dollars. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I really am never going to run paid ads again.
So, as we always say, Jesus saves, Facebook and Instagram ads do not. And I
Very
like how
true.
you said before, like when you first started, you're like, I'm going to do paid ads, but I didn't even have an offer that was already converting, right? So, but what would you say to the online course creator who is growing, wants to grow faster, but they're not yet ready to run Facebook and Instagram ads?
Yeah,
Now, what do they do?
let's exhaust all the free strategies possible. Let's do all the free stuff before we do anything expensive and paid, because really those paid ads are an experiment. And for some of my clients, they work really well. I think it depends on the audience. Really. I have some long arm quilters that I have helped develop online businesses, and they can get leads for
Wait,
like
what?
long arm
Longer
quilters.
quilters.
They make
Long
quilts.
arm.
Mhm.
As
And
in,
I've never
not
heard
not that
long
they're
arm.
long, not that their arms are long, but this is a type of quilting.
no, there is subspecies. No, I'm just kidding. No, their arms are super long. No, that is
My arms
so
are long.
funny.
I'm like a
Like,
6'3" wingspan. Anyway, so
that's really funny. No, they use a machine that's called a long arm quilting machine. So instead of using like a little sewing machine, their machine is really long, and it moves over like you've probably seen them on YouTube or Instagram or something. And
definitely not.
so absolutely
And I
not
used
watching
to have a
quilting.
couple clients in like the quilting sewing
Yeah,
niche
you did.
as well, but that's interesting.
We
Okay.
digress.
Anyway.
You were in the middle of saying that you have seen some of those clients who are using Facebook ads in that long arm quilting niche. We're getting super. You're about to say really
25
inexpensive
cents.
leads.
25
25
cents. Yeah. I
Ooh,
know.
wow.
And they were actually converting. So people say, "Well, you hate paid ads, you don't, da, 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 da." And I'm like, it's not that I don't like them, it's that they didn't work for me. And in our audience, coaches, consultants, course creators, that's an expensive audience. For at least I have found. So anyway, it's not that I don't like paid ads. If I have a client or student running them, I always just say, just be careful. Just be careful. Let's do all the free stuff.
Start small.
Yeah. So
No,
when it comes to Facebook, there's some really basic things you can do that are going to get you visibility and grow your email list at the same time. And one of the things I love to teach is how to turn your Facebook personal profile into a list funnel, an actual growth funnel. So, yeah. So when you landed on my Facebook personal profile and you saw my cover photo, it showcases my free Facebook group.
it does.
And yeah, and at that hook at the top of list growth, leads, income, that's what my audience wants. So I lead with that to get their attention. Then I have an invitation to come join the group. And if you notice, I have a click here button on there. And it's just a graphic, because you can't put anything, that is just a graphic. You cannot put, you can put a hyperlink on there, but it's not going to actually be hot. It's not going to go anywhere. But if you notice, when you click on that cover photo, what happens?
I see the whole cover photo.
Correct. And over on the right, a description box has opened up.
Oh, yeah, it's right
Mhm.
there. I'm looking on my other monitor right
Yeah.
here off camera.
Right. It's right to the right. A lot of people do not know this. I'm giving away one of my secrets, just for you guys and your audience. So if you look at that though, it's the what's in it for you to join my Facebook group, and the hot hyperlink is right there. So if somebody doesn't have a free Facebook group, if they
There
wanted
it
to
is.
showcase, yeah, if they wanted to showcase a lead magnet, they would just make a really sexy hook at the top about the lead magnet, what's in it for me to grab it, with a click here directive or join here directive. So they know to physically click the cover photo.
There we are, YouTube fam. You get to
Wow.
see this because it's being shared on our screen right now. That's pretty genius. So
Yeah.
we went from here, we clicked the image, and then boom, there's the link to go into your Facebook group. And your Facebook group strategies, I know this isn't the focus of today's podcast, but they're quite evolved. I actually had not seen some of the stuff you did after we talked in our Facebook DMs, and then a link to your group and some other things showed up. I was like, this is next level.
Yeah. So a free Facebook group is another list growth strategy that I teach. It to me, it makes sense about 9 times out of 10 for a business. Some of my students and clients, it doesn't make any sense for, but most of them it does. And the reason why is because so my audience, your audience, for example, they really want communities where they can be a community. There are so many Facebook groups out there where everybody is just spamming each other, posting stuff, not commenting, nobody's talking to anybody. And I created my free Facebook group for that reason. I couldn't find one that I really liked. And I thought, well, all right, I'll just build it. And so, and at the time I was still working the corporate job. So it was like me, my husband, who is an admin. I think I put my sister in there, and I asked some friends and family to, I mean, it was like sad. It was sad sack for a while. But the way my free group grows my list is because of the way the membership entry questions are set up. So, like, this whole thing I'm describing to you is like a big old puzzle piece. So, the free group, membership entry questions, we write them in a way that makes people want to give us their email address, and in a way that's GDPR compliant for my people that are in the UK, Germany, places where that really matters. And so then somebody wants to join your group, they get on your list, goal achieved. Then you have an opportunity to welcome them in with a DM that makes them feel like they've entered a Nordstrom store. You know how it feels when you enter a Nordstrom? And you walk in and they go, "So great to see you. What are you looking for?" And you go, "Men's shoes." And they go, "May I take you over to the men's shoes?" And then they come back later, "How are you doing? Do you need anything else?" "Oh, I think I want to look at a watch. Let me walk you over." That is the experience we want people to have when they come into our world. And that's one of the best places to do it, is in a free group. And the reason why the free group is so great is because it's an easy yes for your audience, because I'm going to tell you, I've got this free group full of online entrepreneurs. We've got like 3,800. You can promote your stuff anytime, which is something everybody's looking for. It's not a spam fest, believe it or not. You can network with other people. You're actually encouraged to do that. You can answer questions for people that ask a question that you know the answer to. So it's literally this ecosystem. And along the way, I have a chance to get to know them. They get to know me. They will at some stage convert into a buyer. Now, whether that happens immediately, that remains to be seen. But it's my job to build that relationship, get them onto my email list, and then have that DM conversation and that inbox conversation with that person. Yeah. So the personal profile, if you don't have a free Facebook group, that's okay. Um, Showcase something that leads to your list growth. Now, if I have students will say to me, "Well, I have a podcast." Awesome. Podcast can grow your email list as long as you say something to grow your list in your audio and you put it in your show notes. You can showcase your podcast. I would rather see something like a lead magnet, though, quite frankly, just to really make sure we get them on the list.
No, I was just going to insert a very self-serving little ad for my lead magnet since you said. Here we go in 20 seconds. No, but if you're listening right now, of course, we are Facebook and Instagram ad managers, and we believe thoroughly that anyone who runs Facebook and Instagram ads should have the same strategy that we use to get the highest quality lead at the lowest cost possible. And so I took the framework, the same one that keeps me getting clients and keeps my clients happy, and I put it into a mini course. And yeah, it's normally $37 and it's discounted to $17 for you, dear listener. All right, back to the episode.
That's amazing.
The
I
ad
love that.
testing cheat code is what it's called,
It's
in
called
case
the
you were
ad
looking
testing
for
cheat
it.
code. Tracy, I feel like you just gave a very tactical bonus to this
Mhm.
episode. Like, dear listener, do that. I'm still looking at the screen with the banner that you had at the top of your page and the profile, not the profile, the description that popped up when I clicked the click here button on the banner. And it's like, here we go. And boom, join the group. That is ninja. I have not in the, what, are we like 170 plus episodes?
Thought you were going to say years. I'm like, y'all look great.
Right? I know, right? But no, I haven't seen that. I've interviewed a lot of people and I haven't seen that. So that was a ninja.
Well, and the other thing is, go over to your Facebook business page, use the very same cover photo, the very same description box. And a fun fact, when I go into promotion for my 8-week group coaching program, because we launch it 3 times a year, I change the cover photo to showcase the live masterclass that I'm having. Every time you change that cover photo, that is public information. People get a notification. That's visibility. That's visibility. They may not say anything, but they're going to see it. Every time you change your profile photo, I used to change mine once a quarter before I became Meta verified. I would get 300 to 400 comments. Oh my gosh, that's a gorgeous photo. Did they buy anything? No. Did they join my list? Maybe, but it gave them an opportunity to see me again. They're like, "Oh, I wonder what she's doing, checking out my personal profile." I could easily have slid into the DMs. "QUAY.jo, thank you so much for commenting on my photo. How are you? How's the fam? Are y'all still in Mexico?" And then that DM conversation, y'all, it's where we've got to make the connections. We've got to get people onto our list so we can have inbox conversations. And then we've got to make connections where we can get into the DMs and get to know people. That's where the business growth is going to happen.
Agreed. Spoken like a true visibility and list growth strategist. I want to take a little detour. Before we get to more email list building strategy, I want to take a detour because on your website, I saw that it said in your second year of business, you were hitting consistent 5-figure months. And I'm being a bit tongue in cheek, but what took you a whole year to reach 5-figure months?
Right? Right? I
Seriously,
know.
though, I feel like just like me who listens to online podcasts, about building, online businesses and online course memberships and for online coaches too, and you too, dear listener, I feel like maybe we have an unrealistic expectation of how much money we can make and how quickly, right?
Mm,
Because
mm.
podcasts tend to feature folks who did really well, and you don't really hear the challenges and all the left turns they took before they actually turned right, like they meant to turn. So I'm super curious, like, what did take you a year to reach 5-figure months, and like, what's the reality of how long it takes folks to get there? Like, because you're a coach, like, what are you seeing right now?
Yeah, no, I love this question so much because I can get on a soapbox about it actually because part of the frustration I have with the online space is that there's a lot of big people making it look like you can just come in, put up a shingle, create an offer, put it out there, you're going to make money. Boom. They don't talk about the struggle. They don't talk about the fact that things take time to build and grow and get your traction on. They don't talk about the expenses that go along with it, right? And then the other thing that frustrates me is when somebody says they're having 5-figure months. Used to, I would be like, "Oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I not doing that?" What I should have been asking is, what's their profit margin?
Mm.
You know?
Very good question.
Yeah,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
if I'm making 5-figure months and I've got like a 50% profit margin, I'm doing pretty good. But if I'm making, math is so hard for me. If I'm making $100,000 a month and my profit margin is 5%, you know what I mean? Those 2 businesses, on the face of it, those 2 businesses don't look one looks like it's doing better than the other, when in reality, I wanna know how much money you're taking home. And I wanna know how much money you really wanna make. That's the other thing that I got caught up in when I first started. I thought, "I'm gonna be the next name a big name," right? With a 20-person team and making a gazillion dollars a year, and I'm sorry, I'm 55 years old, and that has changed.
Yeah, plus how long does it take to do that, and the whole skill set of being a leader that can manage? Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, yeah.
Yeah. And there's some people that are like, "I'm cool making an extra, I don't know, 2, 3, 5 grand a month," they're a stay-at-home mom and they're just wanting like a little side hustle for some kids' activities or extra grocery money or things
Mhm.
like that. So,
Yeah, or putting it away for the kids' college. I mean, we have to ask ourselves, so when I have a student or a client that's comparing themselves to somebody else, I have to ask them, "What is your enough number? What do you want to make? How do you want this business to feel day in, day out, week in, week out?" Because the reality was, I'd like to have six-pack abs, but am I willing to give up cake and wine to get the six-pack abs? No, I'm not. So, was I willing to give up a lot of time and hours and money and frustration to build something that may or you know what I mean? I was just like, I don't know about this." So, back to your question though about how long should it take? I think we put too much pressure on ourselves to get there fast. And for me, there's not a silver bullet, there's not a fast path. What it takes is consistency and patience and being willing to do the same thing over and over, test it, tweak it, pull it back in, zhuzh it up, change a few words if you need to on your marketing messaging, throw it back out there, see who bites. If that doesn't work, pull it back in. You know what I mean? It's like constant until you can get to a point like I'm at right now. We just did launch number 10 of my program. In launch 7, we were able to do more of a rinse and repeat style because we've got it nailed down. But it took 7 times of launching this program, of me being patient and consistent and not beating myself up if it didn't work great, and being willing to do the research and being willing to throw it, to zhuzh it up and throw it back out there and see, what happened. So yeah. And so I think also though, remember I was building alongside my corporate job. And so that took about a year and a half. And then I don't remember how much money I made in the first full year of business, but I felt like in the second full year, because I was able to be super intentional and not distracted by a corporate job and all that other stuff, that's where the growth, the traction really started to happen because I was able to really focus. But I have to tell you, I put in a lot of hours.
How many what did the average week look like back then?
So I treat this like a full-time job. I am up at 6:30. I am working by 7:30. Now I will take a lunch break and I will make sure that I'm wrapped up by 5:30 when my husband comes home. Thankfully, not thankfully, but now we are empty nesters. So it's me and the dog. So nobody really needs us during the day, right? That's a little different than most people. Um, but I think, another thing that I see people, I think if people started to actually treat it like a business and like an actual thing they needed to focus on 8 to 5, Monday to Friday, that they would have more growth and they would have that growth faster. And then there gets to a point where I wasn't having to work weekends anymore. I wasn't having to spend evening time working on creating something because I'd spent my time during the day visiting with clients and bringing in money. And so that's what's been nice in the last few years. I've noticed the shift of, "Oh, what do you mean oh gosh, it's Saturday, all my work's done. Huh, maybe we could go do something fun." I mean, for a while that didn't happen. That's just my reality though. I really wanted to build this business and my family was on board. Now I didn't miss out on everything and I'm not, wasn't working 24/7, but I put in a lot of hours.
mhm. But
We
it was in that second year that you were able to quit your corporate job?
So I was able to quit the corporate job a year and a half into building, but then that second full year of just building this business. So I actually, if you think about it, I was 3 years in before I hit five-figure months consistently. I was hitting them in years 1 and 2, but it wasn't consistent. Does that make sense?
It
Yeah. Yeah,
does.
yeah.
I have a couple of follow-up questions. Um, Leading into those, I'll say, well, Jamie could say we relate with the working in the margin hours if you
Mhm.
will, while having a
Mhm.
daytime job. A bit of our story, the listener might not know, or you might have heard before, listener. But back when we were in China, Tracy, teaching full time, the first thing we did, well, Jamie showed me this article about this guy who took like a mid career sabbatical. And she's like, you could do this. You could start this language teaching. This is my previous business, teaching Mandarin Chinese. She's like, you could start this language teaching business. It was fun. And I remember spending so much time. It actually took me about 2 years
Mhm.
before I reached high four-figure months, not quite five-figure months. And I remember the feeling. Remember when I was launching the group
Yeah.
coaching program? It
Mhm.
was like 697 or 797, something like that. And I remember the feeling launching my very first one in Instagram stories and getting like 8 people to sign up for this program that would start in, I don't know, about 3 weeks time. And then that going well, and before it was finished, me launching it again and having like 12-ish people sign up, and then before that second round was finished, me launching it again. But that took like 2 years, and
Mhm.
I would say I was slow, and the thing that sped things up for me was I just paid to be in a group coaching mastermind, and then they looked at me, I'll never forget, they're like, "QUAY.jo," and they ran the numbers quickly because 'cause they're all, like, super savvy, and I was the stereotypical dumbest guy in the room, and you never wanna be the smartest guy in the room, but I definitely literally was the at any rate, it was quite intimidating, but I remember they calculated how much I was making per hour, and it was like I think it was like $7. No, was it like 97 cents? Something really, really
It was
low.
really
It was
low.
really low. They're like, "We can learn Mandarin Chinese from you for like 96 cents an hour." And I was like, "Oh," but they did it in such a positive, like, "We're gonna come here and support you." And they actually forced me to launch my group coaching program. Before day 2 of the in-person portion of the mastermind, like, finished, they were like, "You will launch this in your
Like now,
like now
yeah.
in your
Yeah.
stories. We're not letting you leave." And I was like, "Oh, I'm so scared." Anyway, all that to say is it took me 2 years, and it took you, you said about 3 years before you hit consistent, five-figure months, even
Mhm.
though you had hit five-figure months before. Whew. So to summarize that, how are you what would you say to encourage the listener who has thought that, well, wherever in their path to 50K a year, 50K, yeah, 50,000 years and onward?
Yeah, so first of all, they need to know what income do they need to make to keep the online business going? And but they have to be willing to do what it takes. So like sometimes I will recommend to a student, go get a part-time job. It's okay. You know, some of my students have gone back to full-time jobs. They've not given up on their dream, but they just got to a point where the stress of the money was too much and it was overshadowing any growth they were going to have. You know, I mean, and that I knew that for myself. That's why so when I decided to do this and my husband and I talked about it, I knew I didn't want to quit that full-time job immediately because I know myself being raised without a lot of money and having money mindset things and having money be a stressor for most of my life and the amount of money I make tied to my, self-worth and all that crap that we go through. I just knew I couldn't do it. I just didn't want that. But what I did do was was very honest with myself. I went through all the bills and things that I paid for our house and I committed to my husband that I will not lower the amount that I'm putting in our retirement account. That will stay the same because he was like, we've worked so hard to get to this point. We're on track to retire in about 7 years. And he's like, we got to maintain that. I said, that's absolutely fine. And I also didn't want the kids to have to go. Like, I didn't want to say to the kids, no, you can't have a new pair of shoes because mom's not making any money. That was not okay with me. So I chose to build alongside the corporate job, but what that meant was putting in hours in the evenings and on the weekends and being very honest about that, and even when I didn't feel like it, doing it anyway. So I think we have to be willing to do what it takes to get where we wanna go, and we have to be honest about it. I could not sleep in till 10 o'clock on a Saturday. When that it shouldn't happen, and expect to grow a business. No. I couldn't just not work the business during the week at night, a couple of days a week, and expect it to grow. That's not realistic. Um, So I think, first of all, I would like for them to tell, if I was helping somebody through this, I'd be like, okay, what is the amount of money you need to make every year to keep the lights on, to sustain yourself without stress, to sustain the business? And if that's 50K a year, then I want to look at how big is their audience? Do they have a list yet? What is their offers? What are they priced? How often are they promoting those offers? There's another mistake I see people making. One of my students had a $97 offer. She helps caregivers of people who are helping somebody that's going through dementia. Beautiful use of her gifts and talents. And she said to me, well, I think I need to create another offer because this one, nobody's buying it. And I said, hold on. How often have you promoted it? And she said, well, I posted about it on social media a couple of times and I emailed my list once about it. And I was like, okay. I said, here's what we're going to try first. I said, nobody can buy anything they can't see. And so we're going to put together a social media strategy where you are posting about this thing till you feel like you sound like a broken record and you're pretty sure everybody's sick of hearing about it. That's when people are starting to pay attention. And we're going to create an email sequence, not a sequence, but an email strategy that feels good to you, where you are telling people about this. And we're going to do this and see how it goes. 2 weeks in, she made $2,500. I was like, okay, organically without paid ads.
That sounds very typical entrepreneur, right? Like, I made this new thing and well, no one bought it, so I'll make something else.
Make another new thing. Wow. This is like a very strategic episode. We haven't even gotten to the topic of the episode yet. Building
We got to a little bit of it.
We're almost there, but wow, there's so much. I'm just gonna summarize that to say, use wisdom, a healthy dose of wisdom. Like what I'm hearing from what you shared about people who you've coached, and even how a lot of what you said about your journey was talking to your husband, having a very concrete plan, getting up and acting like it's a real business before you've
Yeah.
seen those, I guess, numbers that validate in your mind that it was a real business. Like we very personally had like a worst case scenario. What if we make zero money? And we built up enough savings to last us for 2 years of zero income. And thank God we took that step because we had
Yeah.
no idea that a pandemic was going to strand us outside of our home country, where we had lived for 2 years in China.
12 years.
12 years in China,
Almost
sorry.
12 years.
Almost 12 years in China, in Mexico, and absolutely destroy my previous online business. Like we had no idea that was coming. And that happened at like year, what was that? It was about to be 2 years. So let's say like month 7 of year 1, or year 2, year 1. So anyway, all that to say
Yeah.
is use wisdom when
Yeah.
you're starting out.
Thankfully, we had those savings.
Thankfully, like we wouldn't be here right now if we didn't
No,
have that
no.
savings. We would be, I don't
It
know
was
what we
rough.
would be doing.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why I built alongside my corporate job is because I was squirreling away money. So when I left that job, I could have not made a dime for, I think it was 10 months, and I would have been fine.
Wow. Nice.
Perfect.
Yeah, have that financial runway, as they say. Can
Yeah.
I ask one question before? I know we want to go jump into the email list stuff, but was there a time even after you quit your corporate job that you were like, I don't know if this is going to work, or like you were maybe ready to throw in the towel and like,
Yeah. I would so so I do have those moments. I still do, believe it or not. And anybody who says they don't, I think they're lying. They're a liar, liar, pants on fire, because that's just one of those things that happens to us. But I will say that when I have those thoughts of when I go into a launch, I have an idea of how it's going to go, but we really don't know how it's going to go, right? And so I'm always like, well, let's just see how this goes. But on the days when I think, okay, I'm just going to go get a job. This is it. I'm done. It's too frustrating. There's too many, failed payments are the bane of my existence. People that say they're going to come to a master class and don't show up. I mean, it's just so many things, right? So many things that get on your nerves. Um, I walk myself through the actual writing of the resume. What does that feel like? I walk myself through actually fixing the back of my hair, because let's face it, on Zoom, you don't have to fix the back of your hair.
We're all going like this now. Well, you're not me, right?
I got a smooth spot back there.
I walk myself through, as my friend Tasha says, putting on pants with buttons and an outfit that actually goes together and shoes that are not sneakers, and driving to the interview and going through the BS of it. I mean, I walk myself through Tracy Beavers going back to corporate. And immediately I get to the point where I'm leaving the house with my clothes on and I go, nope, that's it. It's not that I don't have clothes on right now. It's that I have on cute little yoga, pants, and I've got socks. I don't have shoes on. I'm standing on my walking pad because I'm going to get that kicked up started here in just a minute. But I mean, like, I went out and walked the dog. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah. So I still have days like that. But the fact that I do have so much in savings is comforting, because then I can go look at my P&L. I can see, do I need to make a shift? And then I can go look at my business bank accounts and be like, okay, if you don't make another dime, you're still good for 10 months. You're still good for a year. You know what I mean? So that's kind of the way I do it. Usually when I start thinking about the resume is when I go, nope, not doing it.
I
That's so
love
good.
that mental strategy of
Yeah.
rehearsing what it's going to be like if we decide, because we could, right?
Yeah.
We've done all the hats in our business, growing them as you have, and sure, we could go back and get that job, but what does it involve? And so okay,
Just the thought of it makes me kind of get like anxious, and it's like,
no, and we got 2 kids, so like if we both went back to work, then we gotta. Well, what are
Yeah.
the kids gonna do? Like, after they get out of school, but before we get home after the 5.
I don't actually know how that works. Yeah, like how do
We-
people do this who are both working full time? I'm like,
Well,
I can't see
it's-
a world how that works for us.
So let's keep doing our online businesses. Okay, time to get tactical.
Okay, all right, okay.
Time to get tactical.
Okay.
Building an email list of buyers, please. Not just an email list, but an email list of buyers. If you could touch on the importance of having an email list, just because the listener should know, and then your best ways to gain visibility with ease, and growing your email list with Facebook. We're just going to let you drop all the goodness.
Okay. So first of all, the importance of the email list. Now, I'm sure your audience knows this because they're savvy people. But let's look at what's going on with TikTok right now. It was here. People were making a lot of money on it. Then it was gone. Then it was back. Who knows what's going to happen? I just pray that those people are building an email list. Same thing goes for Facebook and Instagram. You guys know it went dark. I think now it's been about 2 years ago, for about 36 hours. When the lights came back on, I'm in the Meta Leaders Network, and I have been for a few years. When the lights came back on, there were thousands of small business owners that lost a lot of money because they didn't have a way to find their audience and connect with them. The people that made money were the people like Amy Porterfield, who sent an email to her list and she made $14,000 in that 36-hour period. So I would rather be the person that could still make money, the person that could still reach their people. And having an email list allows you, I like to think of when I land in your inbox that I've landed in your living room. And I'm like, hey, let's have coffee. How's it going? Like literally, because you are landing in front and center to that person's eyeballs versus social media where I might post something and you might not see it for 30 days. That has happened so many times. I had a girlfriend that was getting married and I'm like, I'm so sorry. I had no idea we were getting married. It's because Facebook didn't show me her post. Or, oh my gosh, you had a baby. So we have to do things that sort of guarantee that our audience is going to see what we're doing. And then also in that inbox, you can really cultivate some relationships by sharing what's a little bit of what's going on in your life. I'm goofy. I like to, overshare probably. But then I also try to find fun ways to get people to reply back, because not only does that help the email deliverability, but it also gives me an opportunity, like the DM conversations, to have a conversation with that person. And it's not just me sending them an email. So the email list is super important because we don't own social media. It could disappear tomorrow, all that. And you can cultivate deeper relationships with your subscribers. And having a list of buyers, what that means to me, I am not into vanity numbers. And here's why. I had a client hire me last summer. You're not going to believe this. She had 600,000 followers on Instagram. Do you know how much money she was making?
Very little.
Was it less than let's just say less than 80K? You should be making more than 80 grand if you're doing it right.
She was making $0.
Zero?
Zero?
$0.
How? Zero.
Yep. Yeah.
What?
She was not effectively. Most of those followers were probably voyeurs.
And I don't say this I don't react. I'm not reacting in a judgmental way. Just like I'm reacting from a place of I've built my previous Instagram for the other business was like at its height, I don't know, 27,000 followers. And I built a YouTube channel to 20,000 subscribers. It takes a lot. That's a lot of video editing,
Yeah.
getting brave and showing up live or making
All the
content
content.
to
Yeah.
make nothing. And 600,000 followers. My gosh. Yeah.
Wow.
That's heartbreaking.
It was completely heartbreaking. But that's an example of vanity numbers versus somebody like me who on Instagram, I think on a good day, I've got 3,800 people, primarily because I don't really focus on Instagram. It's not been a converter for us. So it's just kind of, I've got content there. It's not a focus. My Facebook following, I think might be around 7,000, 8,000 with between friends and followers. LinkedIn, I think I have 6,000 connections. My email list hovers between 3,500 and 4,500, but I have consistent 5-figure months and I have an over 6-figure a year business because I have an audience of buyers. I am not trying to get to 10,000 followers on Instagram. I don't care if I have 10,000 followers on Instagram. When somebody is bragging about that, my question is kind of like when they say how much money they made. I want to know, what were your expenses? When they tell me how many followers they have on Instagram or YouTube or wherever, I'm like, are they on your list? Are they buying from you? Is it converting? So I'm into having an audience of people that really want to be with me. And I'm able to really develop those relationships with them and deepen that trust factor so they convert into buyers. That's more important to me than having a big number.
There it is. How do we get that list then, Tracy?
So the list growth. So I mentioned to you guys, I've got over 10 organic strategies that I teach because list growth can happen with almost everything you're doing in your business. What I teach my students to do is put on a sticky note, all roads lead to list building. And what I mean by that is every action you take in your business every day, I want it to lead to your email list. So this podcast episode, this will lead to my email list because I'm going to share my podcast with people, and my podcast grows my list. And I just shared my free Facebook group. My free Facebook group grows my list. Being on here, people will get curious about me. They'll go to my website. They might grab a freebie. This will grow my email list. Doing a freebie swap with another person who has a similar audience to me, that will grow an email list. I'm just thinking through the collaboration opportunities, being in a bundle, being in a summit, speaking on stage, all of those things grow your list, but you have to be intentional about getting the list growth from them. So for another example is I had a student who went and spoke on stage. Oh, no, it was a vendor event she was doing. And she came away from it and she said, I don't think anybody joined my list. And I'm like, well, what did we do to get them to join your list? She wasn't doing basic things like having a QR code ready or having a freebie ready or something that would cause that list growth. So we really have to think about a gal I visited with had a YouTube channel. She said, Tracy, it's not growing my list. And I said, in the audio of the video, are you giving people a call to action where they can land on your list? And she went, no. And then I said, in the description notes, are you giving people a few places where they could land on your list? And she was like, I don't think I am. And I was like, oh, okay. And so Facebook personal profile, we talked about that. Let that grow your email list. Facebook business page, let that grow your email list. Your free Facebook group, if you want to have one. Working in other people's Facebook groups for visibility. That was something we hadn't touched on. So free Facebook groups where your ideal clients are hanging out, even groups that don't allow promotion of any kind, I still get massive list growth and group growth. So my Facebook group grows my list by hundreds of people every single month. And I'd say 85% of those people I've never met. But because I'm on podcasts, because I am visible on LinkedIn, because I am visible in free Facebook groups, just being of service, that is all I am doing. I'm commenting on something that you had a win on. Oh my gosh, QUÄY.jo, that was amazing. I'm so excited for you. Or, I'm struggling to grow my free Facebook group. Does anybody have any tips? Yes, here's 2 or 3 that I help my students with. Let me know how these work for you. I'm not promoting anything. I'm not even saying I'm an expert, but I'm showing up and I'm being of service. That is going to showcase my expertise for me, and people will get curious about me. They're going to eventually be like, who is this Tracy Beavers girl that I see in this group all the time? Okay, you can guess what happens next. They click on my personal profile, they go there, they slide right down my list growth funnel because of the way I have that set up. So that's how all these puzzle pieces start to work together, where I'm not focusing on list growth. I'm focusing on, where can I be of service? I want to be on a podcast. I want to be in a summit. I want to speak on stage. I want to be in free Facebook groups, and I want to have conversations with people. But because of the way I have all this stuff set up, people are landing on my list. Okay, I'll go through this real quick, and then I'll be quiet. Also, every piece of my funnels, every time you turn around in my funnel, there is an invitation to my free Facebook group. Now, you go to opt into a free lead magnet. Thank you success page is, oh my God, I'm so excited for you. You should be excited too. And it's a less than 2-minute video with an invitation to my free group. The lead magnet itself, one of the pages of the lead magnet has an invitation to my free group or another offer. The email that I send to you, hey, did you know I have this free Facebook group? I mean, literally, you're not getting away from me without joining my free Facebook group. Now, your audience may be saying, well, they've already landed on your list. Why is that important? It's important because of the way I welcomed you and kind of blew your mind, right? When you joined my free group, I was immediately in the DMs going, oh my God, I'm so excited to see you. So excited to have you in this group. And I'm trying to figure out, what do you need? What can I give you? If one of my people that joins my group says that they're feeling invisible, I'm like, tell me what part has you feeling invisible. I've got so many free resources. I can send you a podcast. I can send you one of my live trainings. And what does that do? That's that Nordstrom welcome where they're like, dang, she's nice. She's helpful. She's not selling me anything. She just made me feel like $1 million and she wants to help me. Now, obviously, I'm showcasing my expertise that way, but they will convert into a buyer when they're ready. But I've got to establish that know, like, and trust factor first. I'll get off my soapbox now.
That's really
You
good.
can stay on the soapbox. I'm gonna give you maybe a taller, higher soapbox to stand on by asking you this next question. Me fully realizing that a lot of times when I interview folks, and even when I talk myself, the strategies that you and Jamie and I, are using right now to grow our business many times aren't the strategies that we used to grow when we had to get scrappy, right? Because businesses very naturally have like this evolution and your strategies change, right? So for you, Facebook group and all roads leading to that, whether you guest on podcasts or whether somebody is already on your list, that is what's working great. I want to ask, if you weren't doing that, what would be the second strategy that you would lean on?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. So if I didn't have my free Facebook group, I would be thinking of another top of funnel strategy. And I think podcasting is a great one. Well, because you can reach a audience on a global scale, whether they are on social media or not. Podcasters, I heard this the other day when I was out walking. Podcasters are doers. They are producers because they're usually on a treadmill listening, or they're driving to work listening, or they're driving to get their kids, or they're washing dishes, or they're doing something, making the bed, doing the laundry, whatever. They are productive people. And I could be wrong about this, but I think the income level of podcast listeners is a little bit higher on average than other demographics. I could be making that up completely. I don't know. Maybe we should come back.
I'm sure, dear listener, you could just open up chat and ask chat. Chat will tell
Right.
you.
We'll ask ChatGPT. Was Tracy Beavers right when she said? So if I'm wrong, just ignore it. But also, the podcast shows do not expire unless you take your show down. So, like, years from now, if I'm still doing the show, people will find me. People will find this episode as long as this show is in existence. Versus if Facebook disappeared tomorrow, there's a big strategy that I've just lost. So I've got to think of a way to bring people into my world top of funnel, to warm them up, but also to build those relationships with them. And so that's where if Facebook disappeared, I would be fully focused on the podcast, probably incorporating more SEO and Google Analytics and things like that than I am now, and AEO, which is a new thing I'm hearing about. And I can't remember what the A stands for, but it's basically when because people are not using Google as much as they are using ChatGPT as a search engine to ask questions of. And so AEO is where you want to, is it artificial engine optimization, maybe is what it stands for. But versus SEO, AEO is where if somebody types in, I want to know a business coach that teaches visibility and list growth strategies, my name has to appear. Or I need a free Facebook group where I can promote anytime for online entrepreneurs, my group has to appear. And so we need to start thinking about that the analytics in our favor when it comes to the AI tools. We want to appear when somebody asks for something in our world, like you guys, paid ads. You want ChatGPT to go, oh my gosh, you have to call QUAY.jo and Jamie. They may be in China, but we'll check and see. Just being funny.
We're not. We're here.
We're here in Mexico.
So I would be employing more of those strategies, organic again, because if social disappeared, that's what we would have left. And then that inbox really being my playground, where instead of being able to have a DM conversation, I'm really working hard to get those replies back and that conversation going and those info calls booked and stuff like that.
Wow.
Love the answer.
Yeah.
I mean, we can second that, because a lot of what I do is producing podcast episodes, and Jamie's here working alongside of me, pitching, I would say, to an extent, like-minded podcasts, but really she does focus on, like, who does she think we would get along with? But within that, looking at podcasts that we can partner with that serve the same online course creator that we serve, but in non-competitive, complementary ways, if you will. So I agree. Your podcast is called The Create Online Business Success. Dear listener, I'm telling you that again so you can go down to the description below if you want to hear more about Tracy or more from Tracy. And of course, Tracy, your free Facebook group is linked below.
I end every live training, every podcast saying pretty much the same thing. And it is that being an entrepreneur is freaking hard. It's a roller coaster. Some days everybody wants to buy what we're selling. Other days people cannot remember our name. And the biggest thing I want them to understand is that they are not alone feeling that way. It's really hard sometimes when all we see is the highlight reel and the success stories. And then we're over there wondering what's wrong with us and why isn't our business growing faster? And if you think you're alone feeling that way, you're absolutely not. And that is where it is so critical to get into a community of like-minded people who are being honest, going through the same thing you are, so that you can shore each other up. Because a lot of times our friends and family don't understand, you know? So anyway, just know that you're not alone. Get into a community of support, and just keep going. Don't quit. Be willing to do whatever it takes to get where you want to go, including going to get a part-time job or doing DoorDash or something like that. But just don't quit.
Just don't quit. It's really
Yeah.
hard.
It's so true.
Jamie, weren't we just walking with our brand new 9-year-old daughter last night in Mexico City, and you were telling her about, like, her birth story, for the ninth time? And
But now she remembers more.
I guess not the ninth time, because you probably didn't start telling until she was 5. But didn't you just say, Jamie, that I think Elena Faith, our daughter, was like, well, did it hurt though? And you were like,
I'm like, yeah, it hurt.
And she's like, why did it hurt? I'm like,
why did you do it?
I'm like, because you had a big head and you came out of a small hole, And then she was like, I don't think I want to have a baby and something. And then we were just saying that, like, but most wonderful things. And we're like, you're wonderful, Elena Faith. Like,
and I said, you were absolutely worth it.
Yeah, most wonderful things are difficult.
Yeah. Yes.
Aren't they?
Yes. The hardest things are the most wonderful things.